New year, new challenge. So today I'm creating a spaceship from a shampoo bottle. Ado over at FabWorks has issued this challenge, and at the time of putting this video out, he will be doing a video the next day showing everybody who participated. I started by 3D modeling up a nose for the bottle, and then went straight into getting a layer of primer and paint going. The BPA free plastic these bottles are made of, they don't hold paint very well. And I can imagine that a lot of the other people who were working on their projects had similar issues I had, where it took a few coats before it started to actually adhere well. So the paint I'm using here is from Vallejo, and it's a kit called Starfighter Colors. There's 8 colors in the kit, and I'm using about 3 or 4 of them. The different grays and the black, which is a black steel. Then I move on to working on the thrusters. The thrusters are made of a 3D printed part and some cartridges from our whipped cream machine. Oh, he's probably mad at me because we went through so much homemade whipped cream so I could get this project done. So I had to grind a hole in the end of these cartridges so that I could run the lights, as you can see here. And I had to do it in 6 cartridges. Then I took the cap of a deodorant and decided to put that on the end of the bottle. I figured sticking with the theme, shampoo, deodorant. And now it's time for some more greeblies. The grills I'm using, I kind of got the idea from the back of the Millennium Falcon. These are actually the eyes from C-3PO that I just squished the Z-axis before printing. And then I decided to give it some landing gear. The landing gear is actually the caps from disposable razors. The brown color is actually a primer that I did off camera. And then I decided to give the back a steel look to see if that matched up or gave a good contrast. You'll see that eventually I decided that it was better to make the entire ship one uniform color rather than to give the back one color and the front another. Here I'm gluing on the landing gear. I probably should have did this before I painted because, like I said earlier, the paint didn't adhere well to the bottle and the landing gear broke off a few times, bringing the paint with it before I finally got it to stick. Back to wiring up the thrusters. The part that the thrusters are mounting to was 3D printed and painted. I had that from a previous project that I decided that I didn't like, so I never used it. And then here I tin the wires up and hook them up to a little battery pack that holds 2 2032 batteries, so all 6 lights are running off of 6 volts because each battery is 3 volts and it's a two battery pack. Then I decided to take some styrene and just kind of see how I was going to mount the entire thruster to the top. kind of my MO to not think anything through and kind of just wing it as I go along. Now I've got it all wired up and I don't know what I'm going to do with that battery pack at this point, but I decided to just keep working on the little extra pieces. Get some greeblies going. I probably could have spent 10 times as long as I did coming up with pieces on this, but I was under a time crunch. One I set for myself, but still. The radar dish is a lens from a flashlight. Then I decided to take some sprue from another model kit that I have that I haven't messed with yet, and just kind of get it glued in place and add some detail to look at to draw your eyes away from the fact that the ship isn't quite straight. If you didn't catch it, the character that was actually on the sprue when I started to cut it off was Darth Maul. It's actually a kit in a game. I plan on taking a couple of the characters and painting them and making a diorama out of it. Then I go back to painting again. There's got to be about 8 or 10 layers of paint in a lot of the areas of this ship. I do love playing with my airbrush, even though I'm not good at it. And if you've made it this far and are not a subscriber, I would be appreciated if you did. And what good is a diorama without a backdrop? So I take some modeling paste and some sand, mix it together, and then I have 2 pieces here of 1-inch thick insulating foam. So I work out a texture for the base and the background, and I realize it needs something else, and so I find this little piece from, I believe this comes from the ship from Rebels. This comes from the Ghost. And it doesn't quite fit perfectly, so I'm going to add a little more detail by using some EVA foam clay and build a little build up to it. It's just a background piece, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Then once that's all done, I decide to paint it. And of course, as a lot of people do, I do a Tatooine kind of style where it's light browns, beige, tans. This is just background, so I'm not trying to be perfect, but I do like to play with the air gun, don't I? Then I poke 2 holes and created sticks to go into the ship, so it looks like it's taking off. So this is kind of like a port on some desert-like rocky planet. And again, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you like what I've done.